The misclick episode, the
Get out
birth
of
year
here.
episode, or the Get Nate Robinson a Kidney episode. That is where we're
Facts.
at here for episode 97.
Let's get this man a kidney for real. I'm not trying to see Nate Robinson leave this earth. That would be depressing. So all prayers to him for sure. But Spinny, you like my new artwork, man? Or what? What do you think about that? You like that?
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad,
We
he
we
says.
enjoy it. We enjoy it.
Not bad. This
Yeah.
beautiful, this beautiful painting of Justin Jefferson. Look at this. Gorgeous. Not bad, he says.
Shout
What
out
about the
Egan Outlet Mall.
what about the GOAT himself, Anthony Edwards? Come
The
on.
guy who's about to get Jokic tonight and we're gonna lose by 30. That guy?
Come on. And let's not forget this 3D picture.
Three
Let's
different
go.
ones.
3 different pictures on one. I got all the artwork here now.
It could be the show and tell episode too. Now
In Fetty,
that
in
could
the Fetty
also
Bus
be
studio.
in related. So a lot of names for episode 97, but let's actually get to episode 97, huh? Rock it in with old Jackie.
Spinny. Hella headlines to go over to start episode 97. First one related to my headline, the basketball capital of the world. Do you know what the basketball capital of the world is, Spinny? What city is it?
What city is it? What city
Yes,
is it,
sir.
people? We know what city it is. It's
It's Mankato.
Mankato. We can read it down here if I can point to the right thing. Let's
Yes,
go.
sir. Shout out to both the men and women's basketball teams. Both won the national championship. Crazy. Spinny, that's only the third time across all divisions that a men and women's team won it in the same year. Second time in D2, and obviously UConn did it for D1. Couple tidbits about the women's season, Spinny. You're going to find this crazy. So, second title in program history, right? They won in 2009, so that's exciting. They started this season, Spinny, 2-4. They were 2-4 after 6 games, and they finished 32-5. They only lost one game from that point. The rest of the
Little
season,
29-1 run.
yes, to finish the season.
Jeez.
Not to mention, they avenged 4 of their 5 losses in the national tournament run. So that is
Wow.
amazing to see. Amazing. They like the Final Four matchup. That was the team they lost to earlier in the season. The championship matchup, they lost to them earlier in the season. Avenged all these losses. Another one here. They were the 7th seed in their region, Spinny, out of 8 teams. They won the national championship. Like these are some crazy stats here.
They were the 7th seed in our region?
How? It
Wow.
doesn't make any sense to me. Makes no sense. How about this one? In the national tournament, they gave up 139 made shots, right? They forced 168 turnovers. They forced 30 more turnovers than teams
Then made
made shots
shots?
against them. Yes. How absurd is that stat, Spinny? Like I can't even
That
like
is a
wrap my head around it.
wild one.
I mean, this is a team
Holy
that forced
crap.
close to 30 turnovers a game. They had 1,000 forced turnovers this year, Spinny. 1,000. What are we talking about?
1,000.
What are
That's
we talking about?
insane.
That's insane stuff.
Insanity.
So shout out to
Wow.
that program. That's awesome. They
Crazy
were so
defensive
fun to
team.
watch. Now to the men. First program title. So shout out to them. They finally got it done. And I just also want to mention that they swept all team championships, which is insane, both the men and women. So they both won regular season conference. They both won the tournament conference championship. They won the regional championship. and the national championship. So they literally won everything. Clean sweep for the men and women's program at MSU. Shout out to you guys. Hell of a season. Now into some professional sports. Spinny, let's start with the Rashee Rice incident, man. Took a turn. This actually right before we started recording. There's now a warrant issued for Rashee Rice. He is facing arrest for 8 charges stemming from his multi-vehicle crash. My one question for you, Spinny, what is up with this trend of young wide receivers just being obsessed with driving fast? Like it's always a receiver. I just don't get it.
They love going fast. They love running fast. They love going deep. They love driving fast. I don't know. It's wild though. Um, Sad situation, obviously. Hopefully,
Luckily, no
you
one
know,
was hurt. Like
no one was
seriously hurt.
hurt, so that was good. Um, and hopefully he learns from it, and it doesn't end up, ruining his career or impacting the generational wealth he possibly was going to inherit or earn. So, yeah, we just hope he can take this as a learning lesson and figure it out. I think at this point,
I just find that trend so weird. Just like how it's always wide receivers. Like that's very ironic.
Need for speed,
Other
man.
NFL news. Stephon, yeah, for real. Stephon Diggs traded finally off the Bills. He was traded to the Texans along with a 5th and 6th round pick for a 2025 second round pick, which is actually the Vikings second round pick. Fun fact. The initial report was that Josh Allen wasn't aware of this trade happening, which I find concerning. I mean, he's a franchise player. I feel like everything not necessarily needs the approval of Josh Allen. He needs to be aware of something like this, right?
Yeah, I heard that he knew it was a possibility that it was going to happen, but
He
that
just
they
didn't.
didn't tell him before they actually pulled the trigger.
Okay. All
So
right.
he kind of knew like that it was going to happen, but it wasn't
Right.
like he knew when they pulled the trigger.
So what do you think this means for the Texans? Like, are they an instant actual legit contender now after sneaking in the playoffs this past year? Now they added Joe Mixon, Daniil Hunter, Stephon Diggs. Does this
I
push them towards the top?
I think if Stroud continues to make the strides that he has been, right? Like if we don't see a sophomore slump, if we see um the same level of production from him, then I don't see why not. Like we gave him more weapons. They have offensive line development and help. So I think so. I mean, I don't know what legitimate contender means in the AFC because the Chiefs
Because
are
it's so loaded and the Chiefs are there.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and there's a million teams that are good, so it's going to be hard. But yeah, they are definitely legitimate contenders, at least to make the AFC Championship.
Yes, I agree with that. From the Bill side of things, I mean, obviously it was time. I mean, they had their window. They didn't hit their window. Obviously, that's how it is in sports. This is not just an NFL thing. Um, you gotta send it when the window is there, right? So they went for it. They just weren't able to get over the hump in the playoffs. So I understand them trading Diggs. They were gonna have to pay him this money either way. So everyone's making a big deal about this cap hit that they take by trading him. I think it was $31 million, largest ever for a non QB. But that was happening either way, right? So like to me, it doesn't really matter that they lost that. I think they were gonna have to pay him $28 million or something like that. So they in reality, it wasn't much more than they were going to pay him anyways.
And they're
But
going to get it all off this year and put it
right,
all, the whole
exactly,
31 up, and then, really go retool after this season. So that's just kind of where they have to be at this point.
yeah, and they need to draft Josh Allen receiver, 100%,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
now he's got nobody on that team, literally nobody. Jumping to the NBA, Timberwolves sale, Spinny has it fell through. The sale to A Rod and Lori fell through. They had already purchased about 36% of the team, I believe, and the other 40% was supposed to be done by March 27th. Glenn Taylor claimed they did not have the funds submitted by that deadline. And on the other side of things, Lori and A-Rod claimed they did have the funds. They were just waiting for the NBA's approval. A lot to come from this. Today it came out that Lori and Rodriguez submitted paperwork that essentially forecasted a in Woj's tweet states a sizable retreat in roster payroll. So they were planning on cutting back. Based on the numbers, it would make me suspect that they were trying to trade Cat or Rudy, because the number they wanted to lower it to would not be possible unless they were trading one of their max contract players. Spinny, what do you think about this whole situation? It is just an absolute mess.
Yeah, I really don't know exactly like what is all true and not true in this situation. Like,
Right.
right, the dialogue at the beginning was very pro Lauren Rodriguez. Is it Lori or Lore?
I don't know. I've heard it pronounced
Okay.
both ways, honestly.
Okay, cool. Same. I'm just gonna stick with Lore then. It seems like the Lauren Rodriguez side was initially thought to be the hero or the and Glenn Taylor was kind of the heel, and now it's kind of flipping. Like it feels like a WWE match. It feels like
Yeah.
Lauren Rodriguez just turned heel, and now Glenn Taylor's kind of the babyface somehow, which is unbelievable. I don't know how we turned somehow to this to people being a little positive towards Glenn Taylor. It absolutely blows my brain. But it'll be interesting to see all the details that come out, and this is going to be a year, like this is going to be a long time, and there's mediation and all that was already in place. The NBA is not as involved as we thought. The mediation was kind of stipulated in the contract, so I
Correct.
I really have no idea where this is actually going to go, but I hope it ends in a place where Glenn Taylor is not the owner of the Timberwolves.
I agree. It's just the timing of this is just brutal. Why does it have to happen when we're about to go to the playoffs? We're potentially the number one seed. Like we're
Big
actually
game
getting jumped
tonight.
once. Yeah, against the
Wild
Nuggets.
one tonight. This is basically the game for the one seed. I
It
mean,
is pretty much.
yeah,
In essence, it is.
not entirely, but pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. So just terrible timing for this to happen, but hopefully they can get this figured the hell out. And like you said, hopefully it ends up with Glenn Taylor not being the owner, because that is what I would prefer. On to college basketball. Spinny, both UConn and NC State had their men and women's team make the Final Four. That's pretty exciting. Let's start with the women's side, though. Obviously, South Carolina ended up winning the championship. They beat Iowa in the championship. First time in history that the women's game had more viewers than the men's game. 18.9 mil to 14.8. So quite a difference there, about 4 million more viewers for the women's. Do you have any
Eight,
comments on that?
18.9 million more than any World Series game, more than any NBA Finals game from last season, as well as any NBA game during the season.
And also, it was the most watched game of any sport, I believe, on ESPN. ESPN
Yes.
specifically, I believe.
Also, the most watched basketball game, pro men or women,
Yes,
college men or women, since 2019. So that is an
5 years.
unbelievable stat as well. Shout out to them. It was great basketball. UConn, Iowa, that game was unbelievable. Nika Mule played like Gary Payton level defense. Like
That was crazy D, actually.
I,
He was
I
going
want to
hard.
like that player's endurance level is. She was
Through the
sprinting the whole
roof,
game. She
whole
sprinted for
game,
40 minutes straight. I just
literally.
don't. I just. It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Um, the South Carolina semifinal was good, not quite as entertaining as the other one. South
Wow.
Carolina obviously overmatched in that one. And then the final started out great, or started out exciting. Iowa kind of took that lead, kind of made you think it was going to be a game, and then South Carolina just good basketball, chipping away. Raven Johnson, apparently Caitlin Clark bothers her with a hand in her face. No one's tried sticking a hand in her eye before, apparently. I don't know. But she did a great job. And then Camila Cardoso like is ridiculous on the inside. Like I felt
Jeez.
bad. I felt bad watching Hannah Stuelke and
Yeah.
Iowa's
Stuckey can
other
back
big,
harder.
Iowa's other big whose name I can't. O'Grady try to guard her. It was just not. It was painful to watch the amount of offensive rebounds she got.
Yeah, no, for real. What a class. Grad class of 2020. Cordoso, Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and I'm drawing a blank
Cameron
on her name
Brink.
from Cameron Brink from Stanford. Holy shit, Spitty. That's a unit of a class. I mean, those are talk about transcending women's
Yeah,
basketball. All those names. That's crazy. What are your
big
thoughts
big
on
craziness.
what are your thoughts on the refing? Obviously, there was a lot of heat for that final
Yeah,
call. But what are your thoughts about not necessarily specifically that moving screen call, but just your thoughts about the refing in general throughout the tournament?
I didn't mind it too much. I like the level of physicality they let them play with. I thought that
They
was
definitely
pretty
let him play.
good. Um, I thought they were ticky tack about some things like the moving screen calls. You consistently saw, in my opinion, a call that is a little ambiguous and sometimes taken too far. Not just in the final, but throughout the tournament. Um, so I thought they let him play as far as physicality, but then they were also ticky tack in some weird other areas. So overall, good. I'd give the refing like a B, for the tournament personally. But yeah, what do you think? You anti tournament refing?
I was in regards to any game that Caitlin Clark was playing in.
Oh,
For
you're just talking about the push off, huh?
it just it seemed very obvious to me throughout the tournament in any Iowa game I was watching that they had to make sure Iowa would advance and make it to the championship game because I mean think about the viewership. You could shake your head all you want, Spinny, but there's just no denying the money that was in play for them. They had to take advantage of this. This was their time to take advantage, leap past the men, right? If Caitlin Clark wasn't in a championship, do you think they would have had more viewers than the men? Absolutely no shot in hell.
You don't think UConn, South Carolina has more viewers than the men?
Not when there's literally WNBA teams already advertising their games against the Indiana Fever, already switching venues to
Did you
places that
see?
hold more
Did
seats.
you see? So Fever had one nationally televised game last year. One.
Yeah, how
Keep
many
in
they have
mind,
now?
WNBA season is 40 games. One last year. This year, 36 of the
No.
40 games nationally televised for the Indiana Fever. 36. 90%. 90% of their games on national TV after only one last year.
How's that even possible?
Right? I couldn't believe it. It
Every
literally
game?
blew my mind. Every game but four, national TV.
That's crazy.
Also, can we get Angel Reese to the links though? Can we speak that
Would it be opposed,
into
but
lots of
I don't know.
mocks right now? Most of the mocks right now have Reese going it to 7 to the links. So
She I do have some worries with Reese because she seems
yeah,
too one dimensional to me. I'm not even talking about
yeah,
any off the court or attitude issues. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just strictly talking her game. She doesn't really. She has nothing other than a post game, really. Like she has no
yeah.
jumper or anything. So
No,
a little
and
concerned from that
in
perspective.
the WNBA, obviously the physicality is way more. So like she's not going to be able to be as dominant from a physicality
Right.
perspective.
But
Um,
that on the flip
but I
side of
just
things, though, she should be able to fit right into the WNBA, though. You know what I mean?
yes,
Since she's that, yeah,
I just want that star power on the Lynx again. I think I think
that's
it'd be
true.
fun, regardless of how good her game ends up being.
Right. One last question for you, Spinny, before we jump to the men's game. I'm seeing Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, all those ladies that made comments about Caitlin Clark catching heat on social media for talking shit about Caitlin Clark. What do you think about their comments that they made? Because in my
I
opinion, it is complete bullshit that they're getting heat for it. Has any of these women basketball fans ever watched the NBA? Because quite literally, this happens every single day in the NBA where veteran NBA players or retired NBA players talk shit about the current generation. This happens all the
also
time. This is nothing new.
also did we like watch Steph Curry's draft combine reports and
Yeah.
things that scouts said and everybody ever said about him, even though he was shooting the same damn way at Davidson, same thing. And so I no, I'm not surprised. I don't really think it was that shoddy. The
No, it was.
only
I don't think it was either.
most of it was just saying that Paige is better than Caitlyn, which you can make whatever argument you want about that. I think their games are way different and kind of hard to compare along the like I can't think of a guard that Paige Becker's like Magic Johnson obviously comes to mind. It's like comparing Steph and Magic Johnson. It's like
Right.
very different styles of play, and Paige is more of a three-level scorer and a driver and facilitates and does everything five tools. So I get that from that perspective, but yeah, it's a classic. Either
They
way, I
also
don't think it
win.
was that bad. Number one, and number two, all former players do that about new players.
Yes, this is nothing new. That's why I was just they're all like, "Oh, you should be empowering Clayton Clark," like blah 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 blah. It's like this is nothing new. Like this is
Yeah,
not even just a basketball thing. Like in every sport, the older
yeah.
players are gonna hate on the new players because they think they're
Yep.
better. That's just
Yep.
how it
And
works.
then the new player is going to get to a certain point, and then the older players are going to be like, "Okay, we
They're like,
respect you now."
"All right, shit, I was wrong." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, men's final four. UConn, obviously, basically the whole tournament was a crash course for UConn and Purdue to play each other. They were the most dominant teams all tournament, ended up facing each other in championship. UConn ended up winning for the back-to-back title. This is first back-to-back since Florida. And I find that interesting because they lost their three best players from last season. They only returned two starters. They lost their three best players. That Florida team returned all five starters. So, like, this is pretty unprecedented things that UConn is doing. Because, like, even if you go farther back to those, like, UCLA teams, right? Like, Kareem was on the team for how long? Like, usually the back-to-back champs in college basketball return the vast majority of their key players, and UConn actually lost their three best players. So that was crazy to see. My comments on this game, I've really loved UConn's game plan. Just to essentially let Edie get his and lock up the perimeter. I've kind of been saying all tournament that that's the game plan for Purdue. Because what do they thrive on, right? Edie dominating the post and catch and shoot threes. If you lock up the perimeter, they're not going to get any of those 3-pointers, which are vital, 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 vital to their offense, right? So that's exactly what they did. And you saw going into the second half, I think there was only probably like 2 or 4 points scored by anyone other than Braden Smith and Zach Edey. Like they just were doing everything themselves. So I love that game plan by UConn. Obviously, Hurley is a tremendous coach, and I mean he's kind of cemented himself as a legend. I'm not gonna lie.
Is BBN backing up the Brinks truck for Dan Hurley right now?
Oh, they are. It's not gonna work, but they are.
You don't think it's gonna work?
Nah, I
How
don't.
much would it take? I don't know. Like when you're making millions, right? Like what's the difference? Like do they have to offer him like 20 mil a year, 15 mil a year? I don't
It's got to
know.
be like significantly higher than the UConn money,
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like
Because
he
UConn's
loves.
more of a blue blood than Kentucky.
Oh my God, chill out with that. Chill. Okay, can you
How
add
many
six?
championships since 1995 for Kentucky?
Can you add the since 1995 or since 2000 in there, please?
Yeah.
Because if we're saying
Yeah.
all time, they're not. Okay, they're not.
Well, all time, it's getting
Kentucky,
pretty darn close right now.
it is getting
Pretty
very, very
darn
close.
close.
I believe it is what 8-6 now.
Yeah, I think so.
UConn has six. Actually, UConn has more titles than Duke. Duke only has five titles.
Yes.
Duke is like this, the top of college basketball. Everyone thinks of Duke when they think of college basketball, right? UConn literally has more titles than them. Like they're cemented as blue blood, right? Spinny, we had this conversation on this podcast last year after they won. We were
Yeah.
debating if they were blue blood or not. Neither of us could quite get there, but
Now
now
they're in.
it's solidified. It is cemented. They are 1,000,000% of blue blood. I don't care what you got to say. So
North
who do you
Carolina,
got?
Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, and UConn.
And historically, you throw in UCLA
UCLA.
too. Yeah, those would be your blue bloods. You have any other comments about this championship? There's not really a ton to say because this is literally what was expected from the get go, right? Like it was
Yeah.
there was not a lot of madness this year, I must say. There really wasn't.
Great game plan by Hurley in the championship. UConn just was dominant in all facets, and like you
So
you brought
dominant.
this up to me, they could win games anyway. They can
Any
win a
way they
game
wanted, yeah.
100 to 98 or 55 to 53. Like they just can do so many things, so versatile. And when you have that, and then you have a coach that can really think the game the way Hurley does, it just gives you a consistent advantage when you have
Facts.
somebody that's so good at game planning and you have the ability to actually execute so many different game plans at the same time. It's like that
Yes,
was just a match made in heaven with
his
UConn.
in-game adjustments are incredible. He is not afraid. Like they
Incredible.
started the game not digging or doubling at all at Edie, and then they switch mid-game to hard double. That's actually extremely hard. Like people that aren't in the coaching basketball, I promise you, that is a very hard in-game adjustment to do. Your players have to be locked in on the scout all week. Obviously, it's a national championship. You're going to be locked in, but to
But they
execute it,
had
like
two
you said,
days.
two
You know,
days
it's not like they had a ridiculous amount of time. Also, they were doubling from different areas. They were doubling at different
exactly.
times. They were like all able to execute all of that. One thing on that front, I did want to say, shout out Don Staley, going back to the women's, for giving credit to her assistant coach for the scout in her post game presser. One of the
Oh, I
first
didn't
things
see
she
that.
said
That's
after
awesome.
was, she named him by name, said, shout out to him. Only got 4 hours of sleep in the last 2 days. Man, straight game planning 24/7 got us this scout that helped us defend Caitlin Clark. I
Hell
was
yeah.
like, holy crap. A big
I know
shout
what
out to
that's
her for
like.
that.
Those short
Yeah,
turnarounds.
we know
I
what we know what that's like where you're just like hating your life and in the grind. So it's nice to get credited for that. As assistant coaches, I had to shout Don out for that one.
Yeah, for real. Also, I just want to say if any of you guys are like really into the X's and O's when it comes to basketball, just look up some of the offensive sets UConn runs. Oh my God, there's some beautiful sets in there. Beautiful. I bookmarked so many sets that I saw on on Twitter that were like clipped out. I bookmarked so many that I'm hoping to potentially implement here at Bethany Lutheran. That'd be awesome.
Let's
Other
go.
college basketball news, Spinny.
Oh no, back to BBN talk, huh? Woohoo! Bye bye. What do you think,
John
Bus?
Calipari is what Spinny is referring to, has left Kentucky, signs a 5-year deal with Arkansas. My initial reaction, anger, right? I'm like, oh, so you're going to dip out? You're going to dip out. You signed the lifetime contract and you're going to dip out. And not only are you going to dip out, you're going to go to a SEC rival? I bet. But then as I thought about it more, how can I actually be mad about it? I was sitting on this pod a couple weeks ago, right? Bitching and
Telling
complaining
them
about
to
him
fire him.
and telling them to fire him. So why I can't be mad at him for leaving when I was literally just asking for the administration to fire him. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna be grateful for what he did do for Kentucky. I'm gonna try to forget these past 5 years of torture and remember from 2008 to 2018, the good years of my fandom of Kentucky basketball, because there were actually so many good teams in that stretch there. Obviously, the Anthony Davis championship team, that was so fun to watch. But like Tyler Hero's team that lost in the Elite Eight, that's one of my favorite. De'Aaron Fox, Bam, and Malik Monk all together. Those guys were so fun to watch. There were so many good Kentucky teams. Julius Randle, the 8 seed that made it all the way to the championship game, eventually lost to UConn. So it was a great run. Shout out John Calipari for everything you did for Kentucky. Obviously, you brought in hella recruits year in and year out. So I'm a little worried about the recruiting aspect going forward. We already had guys decommit, including our top recruit coming in. He already decommitted and reopened his recruitment. So I'm a little worried about
Sounds like
that.
he's going
And
to Arkansas to me.
I know
Getting
he's going to
that
go to
NAL
Arkansas.
money and becoming a Razorback. How you gonna feel when Arkansas dubs Kentucky next year?
Okay, that is the most painful part of this, right? Is that I'm going to have to see John Calipari wear red and white 2 times every single year. And yeah, it's going to suck. It's going to suck. We need to get somebody, administration needs to get somebody hired ASAP. Somebody with, I saw they were interviewing Baylor's coach, one of the guys that's been interviewing for it. I wouldn't be mad about that. He's a solid coach. He's won the championship, obviously. But they need to get someone quick because these recruits are flying off the board. That's for sure. You want to give me any shit, or you like what I had to say?
I mean, I mostly agree. My plan was to call you a piece of crap member of the media, like the media who told KD he should leave Golden State, but then ripped him
And
a
then
new
came
one
back.
when he went to the
Yeah.
Nets. That's the line I was going. So you took the more logical and logistic approach. I'll give you that. Who wins the SEC first, Kentucky or Arkansas?
Regular, you mean tournament chance?
Or regular season, either way.
Um, not
It's
not
Arkansas,
Arkansas.
folks.
I'm
Not
gonna say
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
No,
Kentucky.
you're not.
Yeah, Kentucky.
You heard it here first, folks. Bus is going with Kentucky, but in reality, it's gonna be Arkansas who wins the SEC first.
Cal got us like one SEC tournament win in the last like 5 years, and then I ain't buying any of that.
All right, we'll see. You want to make
We
a
will
bet
see.
on it? Can we have like a embarrass yourself on the pod bet?
I'm not that confident, no.
Oh, he's not that. Yeah, that shows how confident Fetty is in the post-Cal era.
All right, Spinny, we got to jump to our last headline. Perfect transition for our main segment here. We're going to talk about these damn MLB injuries that keep happening. Pitchers going down left and right, Spinny. We had Yuri Perez, Shane Bieber, and Spencer Strider all face elbow injuries. Framber Valdez just went on the IL with elbow tightness. That sounds like it's not going to be Tommy John, though, from the reports I'm
Yeah,
seeing. So better news on
that's good.
Framber, at least. More names here, right? Last year, Shohei Ohtani, obviously. Jacob deGrom, Sandy Alcantara, Robbie Ray, Shane McClanahan. Walker Buehler is just coming back from his about a year and a half ago. Lucas Giolito, Felix Bautista, stud closer for the Orioles. In the last 2 years, we've seen so many big name pitchers go down with this. Spinny, my question for you is what can the MLB do to prevent or slow down this issue? Or is there anything that can be done? Or is there like there's nothing at all? What do you think?
I
I
don't
got
really
two things in
know
mind.
if I mean, the pitch clock obviously comes to mind when we're talking about this. I think it's a lot of
Exactly.
where people are going with it. I don't really know. I would have to see more empirical data and research on exactly if that is a factor. It'd be nice to see some type of experiment done on that. I would definitely love to see what's going on with that. But other than that, I feel like more emphasis on flexibility, and we've seen things that Brady and LeBron have done as far as focusing really on improving doing plyometrics and improving their flexibility and their joints, muscles, all that type of stuff. I think that could be something that these pitchers could start trend of them going towards to help with this specific injury. But those are my two things that I think could come as a consequence of all these injuries.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, a lot of it has to do with the maximum effort approach pitchers use in the MLB. Obviously, that's been a trend since the young age. They're throwing as hard as they absolutely can for every single pitch. You know what I mean? So that's where the pitch clock, like you mentioned, comes into effect because now they're having to throw as hard as they can at an even faster pace, right? And also the emphasis on spin and everything like that. That's obviously going to put more wear and tear in your elbow. One interesting point from actually, I believe it was Tyler Glasnow, who's had Tommy John surgery. He actually said that the banning of the sticky stuff that pitchers would use, even I'm not even going to attempt to name all the different products that they would use, but he said the banning of that stuff actually has made it worse because now they're having to grip the baseball with their bare hands and they have to grip it even harder, which is putting even
Yeah.
more pressure on their elbow when they throw the ball. So I'm not necessarily in agreement that they should bring that kind of stuff back, but like if it's to prevent these major injuries, you might almost have to.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's not something I had thought of like that.
Yeah,
Well,
but I'm not,
boss.
like you said though, until you see empirical data, there's you don't really know the solution for this.
Yeah,
So
and you're
it's
not going to
sad and
change the MLB's mind without empirical data either.
facts. All right,
So,
now we are going to jump to the Minnesota Twins mailbag. We got questions from listeners. We are going to
Bobby
answer them.
B's mailbag today. Shout out to Bus's dad for this segment.
That biggest Twins fan of all time just attended the Twins game today and yesterday. So shout out to him. They finally
He
won a home game
watched
today.
he watched Shoei get thrown out at home today.
Yeah,
Let's
he did.
go.
He saw
Nice little
Glass now.
relay play from the
Saw
Twins.
Glass now dice us up yesterday, and then he saw us actually get a home win for once today.
Finally.
Starting it off simple, Spinny, Branson, Peterson, our good friend, is wondering simply, who is our favorite player on the team? Easy question for me. It's the guy who apparently can't stay healthy, but was a stud in the postseason last year. That is Royce Lewis is my favorite player, for sure.
I think it's Pablo for me. I
Pablo?
always, I always
Yeah.
gotta lean towards the pitchers. It might be Joe Ryan too. Joe Ryan is definitely
Yeah.
in that. Yeah, I'm gonna go slight Pablo over Joe Ryan, but it's
That's the
close.
top three, right? You got Royce after
Yeah,
those two?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're in the same boat then. From Brendan, constant MLB guest for us. He's wondering why was our hitting coach not fired after last season? Actually, I was kind of wondering that too. I'm pretty sure both of us on this pod mentioned that last year as
We
something
called
that
for
needed to
this
be done.
man's job on
Yeah,
this pod at the end of last year, and he still has a job, and we're still striking out every 5 seconds. And we're
every
our
5 seconds.
team all the time. Highest strikeout. We're gonna break our own damn strikeout record. For
Literally.
goodness sakes.
So
Just
embarrassing.
re-freaking ridiculous.
So embarrassing. His second
Oh,
question. Why have the Poleheads not sold the team? Because like
because
many
they're
other baseball owners, they're hungry for that money. They are never going to sell the team.
cheap, greedy billionaires. Love it.
Yep, exactly. My dad, here you go. My dad's question. How long do the Twins wait for Kepler to be able to hit? I would say preferably not
Negative
long.
two, negative two
Yeah,
years. Yeah, like I wish Caps would have been off our team 2 years ago. I think that's another thing we've been pretty consistent on is trying to get Cap. Like it's just not working. Sorry, but I
for
just.
for two guys that apparently don't know much about baseball, me and you, we've been right about a lot of the Twin stuff. I must say,
I mean, I
it's
don't think it's that. I I
it's
don't
pretty
think
simple.
it's that. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I really
It's
do.
pretty
I
obvious. He
just
sucks.
Buxton wasn't going to be able to stay healthy. Cut your losses. Get something for him. They didn't. Got injured again. Now he's basically value is nothing. We didn't love the Correa signing. We liked it after the lower money, but we kind of knew the issues that Correa was going to have, and we hated the Sonny Gray not signing him again. And now look what's going on. So just we're back to we can't pitch and we can't get the ball in play. We're going to strike out a billion times, and now we can't pitch. It's just not a winning recipe. Last year, we could afford to strike out with our consistent pitching that we had. It still kept
Right.
us in most of the games. And then if we got some long home runs or power out of our strikeout percentage, then it worked out. But if you don't have the pitching to back that up, it's not going to result in the W's.
Facts. Dylan Warsaw, is Wallner the worst hitter in MLB history? Well,
No,
he's sure on pace to have one of the worst seasons of all time. He has
yeah,
15 plate appearances and 12 strikeouts in 15 plate appearances, batting .067 on the season. Spinning.
yeah, one of the worst I've seen. I kind of want to shout out some former Twins hitters that I just hated watching, like Miguel Sano and Delman Young. But
Okay, but Sano at least had like a 35 home run season as
yeah,
well, right?
Sano had a good season. Yes, Sano did have a good season. Our boy Matt, well, let's just say he's not Joe Mauer 2.0. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. My buddy Blake graduated from Bethany with me. How will we score runs without Royce Lewis? Who is going to step up in his absence? His second part of the question, if he's out for, say, 2 months, how many games back in the Central will we be? And is it going to be too much to overcome? How will we score runs? Well, like Spinny was saying, I don't think we are scoring runs. Like, we can't. The thing, who needs to step up is obviously our best players that are still playing, Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa. They need to step up. They need to be big for us. But obviously, guys like Wallner and Manuel Margot and Kyle Farmer and all these random players we have, they all need to step up too because holy crap, Spinning, we cannot score runs at all right now.
No, I this is why we can go back to hating the poll ads again because it's like What did you expect? We gave all our money away. Pitchers are gone, and freaking our hitters have not been that amazing. We relied on pitching last year, and then we let the pitching go. So I don't know what
Let's
else
cut
they
payroll.
expected. Yeah, Twins haven't scored. Have only scored over 3 runs once. Only over 3 runs once. In these first 10 games, once.
Like, what are we talking about? This is terrible. This one's also not really gonna be able to be answered. Big Mike, good friend of ours. What will the front office do to improve our pitching rotation? I'm sorry, they're gonna do absolutely nothing, like they always do. They're not gonna trade at the deadline because they never do. One thing they could have simply done is just re-sign Sonny Gray. I don't know. Weird thing to re-sign your best pitcher. I don't know. Weird. Just let him go, let him walk, and now we just have Pablo and Joe Ryan and a bunch of randoms pitching. So I don't expect Pullets to do literally nothing to improve our rotation. This is what it's going to be all season.
The Scalafini injury obviously did not help either
That is
with
facts.
our
Good point.
pitching depth. Yeah, I would love to see. Man, I'd be open to a Correa trade, although I don't think a lot of teams are interested given the knees and all that. I'd be open to Buxton. I'd be open to basically any player on our team except Pablo, Joe, and Royce Lewis should be tried to shop for good value. Honestly, I don't. I have a hard time with the roster as constructed winning the division this year, and that's why we picked the Tigers preseason. I kind of saw this coming. I will admit.
That's what happens when after you win the division and win your first playoff game and first series in how many years, you cut payroll. Like this has happened so many times with the Twins. It's infuriating. Aaron Boisman, when is it time to call up our best batting prospects, such as Brooks Lee? Let's answer that one because he's got a couple others. I would
I
say
think Brooks Lee should be up
sooner.
right now, or
Yeah, he
pretty
needs to get
damn
called up.
soon.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're playing Wallner and freaking other randoms, like
This this is
who's
this
our
thing this
who's our second who started at second base in most of our games this year?
well Julian,
Freaking Julian.
but he had 2 home runs today at least. So
Yeah,
um,
he's been doing some good stuff, but
he's young too, so I'm fine with him being there. But like this is a conversation we had last year too, Spinny. How many times did I say let's get these young guys up and in because when our vets are striking out every other at bat anyways. Like let's
yeah,
have our young guys at least get the experience. So
it can't get much worse. Is all I gotta
no, it
say.
can't get
So
exactly. So sooner rather than later for Brooks Lee, Walker Jenkins, and our other prospects to be called up, preferably. The second question: thoughts on Rocco's future beyond this season? Um, it's tough because I don't necessarily think he's the greatest of managers, but what else is he supposed to do? He doesn't sign the
yeah,
players. You know what I mean?
I don't think he's to blame too much, but I also don't see him being on our team past this year. Probably, maybe one
Probably
more,
last
but
year.
he's probably done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is a good one here. Over under 80 and a half games played for Buxton and Royce Lewis. So essentially, will they play half the season or under half the season?
Um, I'm gonna say under. Yeah, I'm gonna take the
For
under.
both?
Yeah. Well, under for Buxton for sure. Uh, hmm.
Since 2017. So not counting the 2017 season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. Well, six, I guess, can't count this season. He has gone over 80 and a half 3 times, so half the time.
I'm gonna say under
I'm going to
for
say
Buck.
under two. Last year, he only played 85 and he was only a batter. Now he's back in the field. Knock on wood. Obviously, I don't want this guy to get hurt, but it's probably inevitable that he's going to get hurt out there in the outfield. We're being honest. I'm going to go over for Lewis. Probably going to be wrong there, but I got to throw some sort of positive vibe out here for the Twins because
Yeah.
we've just been negative this whole time.
Before we move on, quick breaking news:
What do we
Celtics
got?
guard Drew Holiday, 4-year, $135 million extension with Boston for Drew
Where's
Holiday.
this money coming from?
Brown, Tatum, and Holiday all locked up
Wait,
for at least 4 seasons now.
where the hell is this money coming from?
They're gonna be over the hard cap now. So, or not hard cap, but the luxury tax, the ceiling, the top ceiling.
They're going to be
So
restricted quite a bit. No
they
buyout
are.
players. Trading's going to be a
Yep.
lot harder. But I mean,
Literally.
that's obviously a core you got to run with. So I get it.
Yep.
Another Royce Lewis question from Christopher Jones. What do you think the
Ooh.
long-term impact / role is for Royce Lewis? Like, do you think he's our franchise player, a role player, a guy we'll just use as trade bait, etc.? What do you think his role is for
I mean,
going
we're
forward?
coming back to health with him, obviously.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'm gonna need a little bit more consistency in the next season or two. In the next 2 to 3 seasons, he needs to be healthy at least like 70% of the time. And if
Max,
he can get to that point, then I do think he is franchise player talent, or at least close. Um,
agree.
I definitely think he can be your best or second best batter on a winning team. So, however you want to take that.
I completely agree with your answer. Derek Johnson. Why do the prospects we draft seem to never work out? Whether it be injuries, poor performance, whatever it be. Uh I think that's maybe just because we're cursed. Minnesota's cursed in all sports. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, a lot of that goes on to the scouting, right? A lot of those guys that are doing the scouting on these prospects coming in. I mean, maybe we need to get new eyes in there. I don't know, but obviously, there's not a lot those people can do in regards to the injuries, right? I feel like we've had more bad luck in regards to injury than poor performance from our prospects, other than
It
Jose
just
Miranda, who was dog water last year. But
it also just comes back to top down organization, that being solid and well run. And I do not think the scouting department, the front office is well run top to bottom. I really don't. And I
no,
think
it's
that
clearly not.
contributes to the lack of success from our prospects.
Yep, starts up top. Really does, just like any other business. Two more questions, Spinny. First one from Connor Forbrook was on our last episode, our MLB preview. Through 9 games, these are pretty depressing stats here that he gave us. Through 9 games, the Twins are dead last in team batting average at 181. We're below the Mendoza line as a team. Last in home runs at 7 and are averaging 9 strikeouts a game. Our batters. How concerned are you on a scale of 1 to 10? I will say it. I am a full blown 10. This
10.
is exactly what happened last year. We had all these concerns last year. Nothing has changed. Not
I
one
feel like
single
I'm
thing
at
has changed.
I feel like I'm at the I told you so point 10 games into the season already. I feel
Facts.
like this
10
could be
games.
on the
Yeah,
next dubs already. Um,
literally.
yeah.
We might have to actually throw it on the Dubs, if I'm being honest. All right, last question. CFB Mike. At this point of the season, to help our odds of winning the division, would you rather have our team ERA go down by 1 or our batting average go up by half a point? So, if that were the case, as I just said, it's 181. Our team batting average would then be 231. Our ERA right now is actually 6.4 as a starting rotation. That's brutal. So back down to 5.4. Um, I would say the batting average, like you said, Spinny, you can't win unless you score runs. Um, we're literally below the Mendoza line as a team. How insanely pathetic is that? 231 is even terrible. So I'd rather see that go up. And as you know, ERA is obviously inflated at this time of the year, right? So yeah, we have a 6.4 ERA, but that's because um, Bailey Ober got rocked that one game, right? So his ERA is sitting at like 12.8 right now. So obviously that's going to bring our average up. Louis Barlin got rocked too. His ERA is at like 9. So like other than those two, our other three have quality ERAs right now. I think that's kind of going to even out here as we progress through the season. But I'm not confident in the hitting at all. So I'd rather take that boost in the hitting.
The only reason I'm going hitting is because going from a 6.5 ERA to 5.5 ERA is not as big of a difference to me as going from 181 to what'd you say, 231. I don't think
231, yeah.
that's. I think the jump to 231 is a much bigger deal than the 1 point jump when your ERA is so high already.
Facts. Agree. All right, Spinny. I got a Q&A for you, and then we'll get the Hardies and Hardos on the road. I actually have a couple quick hitters for you. I know we've predicted the NBA awards already, so I'm not asking for your actual prediction, but who deserves DPOY more this season? Who deserves it more? Rudy, Wemby, or somebody else?
Rudy, best team, best defense. I mean, I get the Wemby argument. Wemby is the best defender, like purely. So if that's where you're gonna go with your DPOY, then yeah. But the impact that the reason the Wolves are good is defense. That is the reason we're good. It's the thing we've been the best at all year. It's been our identity as a team. Has been that, and it's been our identity. We're the best at it in the league, and our best defensive and most impactful defensive player is Rudy. So in that aspect, I just do think it's Rudy, even though the Spurs defense isn't good, and I understand like Wemby can't affect that necessarily, like when he is surrounded by such bad defenders. But I genuinely believe Rudy deserves the DPOY this year.
Okay, that's fair. Um, as I've kind of argued against Rudy throughout the years, I mean that trend is going to stay the same. I'm going Wemby deserves it more. His perimeter defenders are pathetic. At least Rudy's out here with Ant, Jaden McDaniels. Nas proven to be a tremendous perimeter defender. Nikhil Alexander-Walker. There's nobody on the Spurs, and the fact that he already is averaging 5 stocks a game as a rookie, that is just absurd. And that, I mean, it's not a stat, right? But past Rudy won DPOYs based off how many times guys would just not challenge him at the rim because they're scared of him, right? Well, that's what Wemby is this year. So I see too many parallels to where all the arguments for Wemby this year are arguments that won Rudy DPOYs in the past. So that's why I think deserves it more. Should be Wemby. My pick would still obviously be Rudy though. So
That makes
on to
sense.
MVP. On to MVP then. So who do you think deserves MVP this season? I'll just name the top 6 guys would be Jokic, Luka, Shai, Tatum, Giannis, Anthony Edwards.
I think Jokic is going to win.
I think Jokic is going to win.
If I
I
had to
agree.
be picking right now, it would probably be Luca. I think
I
he's
agree.
earned it at this point. I think he's been in the league long enough. I mean, is he at 35 a game? Pretty damn close to 35 if he's not there. Um, so I think Luka's earned it this year. I think the Mavs are finally good enough, right? Like the Mavs are a legitimately good team this year. If you look at the standings right now, right? Because SGA is the person I'm probably arguing against. The Thunder have 5 more wins than Dallas, so that can be something that is in consideration. But Dallas is the 5 seed with potential to be the 4 seed. Luca, 34 points a game, 9.2 rebounds, 9.8 assists, and 2 stocks. 1.4 steals, zero point 0.6 blocks, and 4 turnovers a game. So I just think it's at the point he's leading. He's the team leader in every per game category except blocks on the Mavericks. So I just think he's earned it with as good as they have been, especially in comparison to last year.
And not to mention, Jokic's first. This is kind of like Jokic's first MVP, right? His team
Yeah,
wasn't quite as good, but he had these otherworldly stats. Jokic's
yeah,
team that year was the 6 seed. Remember, that was the biggest argument against him.
yep,
So I think it is Luka too for that fact. He has these otherworldly stats that if Jokic or somebody else had, they would immediately be like, "Oh my God, this guy's the MVP," right? And obviously, we're
yep,
not. Neither of us are taking anything away from Jokic. Both of us said we would pick Jokic. He
yep.
is having a crazy season, but given the history of the MVP and the trends and narratives around the award, I think it just aligns perfectly for Luka this season. I feel like he deserves it this year. If I'm being honest. Last
Agreed.
one, Spinny. This one I think we're going to be in complete agreement on. Franchise players. Yes or no? Would you trade them right now, this second, for Victor Wembanyama? Giannis Antetokounmpo.
No.
I wouldn't either. Luka.
No.
That is a no, but that is nearing a yes for me. Won't take much longer.
What?
I would just
I
rather always have I'd rather always have the big guy.
I'm closer to saying it over Giannis than I am Luca personally.
I think they're both close for me, but I'm
Yeah.
still leaning these more proven guys right now. But I tend to lean the bigger guy. There's not as good
Yep.
elite big guys as compared to elite
Is
guards.
this for your career, right?
Just right now for the rest, yeah, for the rest of the career.
Okay.
You can take it as okay. I'd rather have Giannis because it's going to give me a better chance to win right now. Or you could say
Yeah.
you could flip it and be like, oh, I'd rather have Wemby because he's younger.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it. Jason Tatum, your man's. I'm trading him right now at snap of a finger, 100%. I would much rather have
I'm
Wemby
not
than
I'm
Jason Tatum.
not given roster construction of the Celtics.
So because you're saying you would just rather have that
I
scoring
I just want to
wing.
score.
Yeah,
Yes, I want a scoring
okay,
wing, especially when I'm okay with the bigs.
okay, that's fair. So that might answer this next one too. Then Anthony Edwards, because if you're basing a roster construction right, you're really going to throw Wemby in next to our three centers we already have.
Yeah, I'm taking Ant, but I if we're talking player for player, I might still even take Ant in that situation. I'm serious. I just don't. I don't know if Wemby is going to be a top 1 to 3 player in the league. I don't know that. I
You're
don't.
lying. You're
No,
lying.
I don't. I don't know that. You think you
How don't you
know
know
that right now? You think you know that? You think you
that?
know
Yes.
he's a 1 on a championship team right now? You think you know that?
This is the best. This might literally be the best rookie season I have ever seen, Spinny. This is
No, yeah,
absurd.
but like he's. Hmm.
Spinny, in theory, right? Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in his career. He could be on
Yeah.
the Spurs. He could be on a shitty roster like this his whole career. He could get hurt. Knock on wood. You never know. But
I have never seen a top 3 player play like him in the history of the
that's
league.
fair. But we've also
So
never
it's a
seen anybody like him, though.
yeah,
So I don't know if
yeah.
you can use that
I
against
mean,
him.
yeah, but like, yeah, you're right. We haven't seen anybody do what he does as good as him.
I don't know. He's a unicorn. That's what he is. Like he
Yeah.
is a freak of nature. And in theory,
Or
this is the
or is
worst he's
he?
going to be, right? This is going to be his worst stat line in theory because he's only 20 years old.
Yeah.
So you're telling me at worst, his worst in his career is going to be 21 points a game, 10 and a half rebounds, 4 assists, 3.5 blocks, and a steal. That's his worst he will be in his career. There's no way he's not going to be a top 3 player.
Yeah. All right.
That's just what I think. The other guys I was going to say, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm doing that snap of the finger for Wemby.
Yep. I I don't even care about roster construction. If I was the owner, I'd just hate watching SDA play basketball so much that I'd instantly do it.
Well, you don't like the free throw merchants or what?
Oh gosh. Jeez.
How about the other free throw merchant, Joel Embiid? Yeah,
Wemby right now.
Wemby right now
Snapped.
easily. Yep. This last one, I think I'm gonna actually have to lean the other way. Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I'm taking Jokic.
I'm taking Jokic. Yeah. So we agreed. Jokic, Giannis, Luka we would actually take those guys, and then just based on roster construction, we would also take Tatum and Ant.
Yep.
That's crazy to say about a rookie, bro. I mean, we're talking this guy's literally 20 years old.
5 dudes. I mean, like I'm any of the old guys. Like I'm taking him over KD, over Steph, over
Yeah, that's
LeBron,
why I didn't even ask about those
over
guys because that's
yeah,
easy decision.
yeah. Crazy.
Crazy. All right, man. That was episode 97. Who do we even all have for this again? This is the Fetty Bus and Spinny episode. Shout
Yeah,
out 1997. Great
the
to see you
birth
all.
year episode, the Krill Kaprizov episode,
The
the
Nate
misclick,
Robinson kidney episode.
yeah, misclick the button episode as well.
Oh, and show and tell.
And show and tell. And show and tell. So a lot of names for episode 97. The episode 97 is the episode of names. So thank you for coming on to it. Um, hug your friends and family, and we love you.
We love you.